Hello, today we will learn about the introduction of biomedical engineering. Basically, as the name suggests, here you can mark this is biomedical and engineering. Both are different subjects, but it is actually one interdisciplinary course. So we'll see how this particular subject will help us in different manners. Actually, this course objective in here I can discuss this will help you to understand and apply the different engineering principles to enhance the healthcare system as a holistic manner. So through this we can have some course outcomes, and this course outcome will find we are applying basic engineering knowledge and biology to solve the problems. We are applying engineering knowledge to solve these biological problems. Or then another outcome of this, that we can have a discussion of about some cells, our human cells. Then we have some potential, how these potentials are generated across the cell membrane and how it has been transmitted, different organs of the body. This is also we get some idea about all these things. Then similarly we can develop an understanding and principle of bioinstrumentation, which principle they are operating on. That is also one good idea we are getting. Similarly, we can have explain the role of biopotential electrodes, how we can collect those biopotentials from different parts of our body or different organs, and we can design different sensors. We can get some idea for designing different types of sensors. Similarly, we can have another outcome of this course, that is your differentiate and analyze biomedical signal sources and knowledge about imaging techniques. So the imaging techniques in hospitals, they are very much useful nowadays because it is non-invasive and also effective. So these are, with these outcomes, we must enter into the what is actually biomedical engineering. As the name you can mark here, there is some definitions, book definition. You can say application of engineering principles and design concepts to medicine and biology for your healthcare purposes. So that means basically biomedical engineering deals with different principles like your engineering. We can apply physics, whatever we have learned from chemistry. We can have mechanics. We can also apply knowledge from optics, electrical signals, electrical engineering, computer science. Every branches can contribute in this field. So it is basically the applications of all these principles in the field of healthcare. So in simple terms, we can say using engineering problem solving skills to answer medical questions. We can model that. We can model through the mathematical solutions, or we can execute those models, or we can operate that using some computers and simulations. So we can also solve some clinical problems with this type of technology. Nowadays we can also utilize them. We can also utilize the power of AI ML in solving in these type of medical problems or healthcare purposes. So the bridge, this is actually one bridge in between the medicine and biology along and the engineering science or engineering and science. So the core idea, the whole idea of application of this engineering concept to improve the healthcare system or to improve the human health through different techniques. So basically we have 4 different techniques here. We can design diagnostic tools like MRI and ECG. Similarly, we can develop therapeutic devices like pacemakers. We can go for advanced procedures like robotic surgery by application of this engineering principle. We can have novel treatments like tissue engineering. These are some of the examples where biomedical engineering works. So there is a vast scope of biomedical engineering. So one by one we can see just a brief description. It is truly one interdisciplinary scope, because the major specializations we can have, that is your bioinstrumentation. In a bioinstrumentation, you know that all the devices whatever used in a medical or in a hospital, you can see that they contain some of the they are the application of electronics, and they also uses the principle of measurement, and that is why these bioinstrumentations, these are useful for diagnosis and treatment of different diseases in hospitals. So they are very much useful, and extensively they uses different computing powers and also uses microprocessors to compute that. So next one we can mark here, like biomaterials. It is another major specialization. Biomaterials, whenever we say these biomaterials are much important. Why? Because nowadays we know that there are many cases we require some prosthetic things, like in materials like it is living, because those materials which will be implanted inside the body, that should be very means that must be compatible with our living tissue, otherwise they may create some problem. So that is also, we can say, these biomaterials, they must be non-toxic, they must be non-carcinogenic, they must be chemically inert, they must have stability in the environment, like inside the body, the mechanically strong enough to withstand the strong forces in the body. So biomaterial itself, it is one research area. So you can have biomechanics. In biomechanics, it is dealing with all the medical field and applications of mechanics in for solving the problems in medical field or solve the biological problems. They are actually comprises of different study of motion, it may study of material deformation, chemical substances across biological membranes, and flow inside the body. So in this field we can, it is useful because you mark in biomechanics, it is useful to develop some artificial heart valves, artificial kidney, artificial hip, and also some organs in a skeletal system. Similarly, we have also clinical engineers. We have another special slide on that, clinical engineers. So those clinical engineers, they are actually doing the technology part in the hospital. That means you can mark here, you know that in the hospital there are many instruments or equipments, sophisticated medical instruments. The clinical engineers, they know how to operate it in a particular means, they know how to operate, how to calibrate. All these things can be done by these clinical engineers. So these instruments, because these instruments are computerized, in some cases they also contain some softwares for the data analysis, they require some instrumentation control. So clinical engineers apply the latest technology to the healthcare. Next one is rehabilitation engineer. So this rehabilitation engineer, they are also one this fields is also one new field in biomedical engineering. Basically the main function of this rehabilitation engineer is to enhance the quality of life and capability of the individual with physical and congenital impairments. So they are concerned with developing assistive technology that improves the mobility, sitting, communication of the patient. They also develop hardware and software computer adaptation to help the people with this type of impairments. So next one is also system physiology. There are many physiological activity going on inside our body. So system physiology is described the aspect in terms of biomedical engineering in which the engineering strategy, techniques and tools are used to gain a comprehensive and integrated understanding of the function of a living organism, ranging from a bacteria to human. So what actually they are doing, they can model, they can use the computer to model this type of physiological environment which is going on inside our human body, and they can analyze and those data, or they can execute on those models through using one computer, and they can validate that or formulate some different types of mathematical description for a physiological event which is going inside our body. So next we can see here, next one is cellular and tissue engineering. So these are the cellular and tissue engineering, they are also useful in the modern technology. So in tissue engineering, you can mark here, it involves recent attempts to solve biomedical problems at the microscopic level. In order to understand the disease process, we must know from which site it has been generated. So that is basically, as we know that any disease, it starts generating from a particular cellular level, then it goes to tissue, and then it is spread on the organ or organ system, and it shows the symptoms. So if we can specifically treat that root level, means cellular level or subcellular level, from where it has been originated, then it is very useful to treat those disease. And with this capability, the miniaturized devices deliver compounds that can stimulate or inhibit cellular processes at precise target locations. So nowadays they are also using some nanotechnology for using this type of cellular or tissue engineering. We have some very well genetic engineering, because we know that genes, they carries the information inherited from parent to offsprings. So if some disorder is present, then it can be modified using this type of technology like genetic engineering. And nowadays people are talking about bioinformatics, and it is a booming field. In bioinformatics, it basically uses your information, it collects information from the biological systems, analyzes those data, then it can also useful in predicting something like or it can customize, it can have a different field of applications like your personal drugs delivery. So similarly, it can also develop different informations, it can predict that when the particular person or when this disease will come in a particular human being. So these are some of the numerous fields, numerous specializations are there. Due to the time limitation, we can move to the further. What is that pursuit of biomedical engineer actually? What one biomedical engineer will pursue, or it will what is the role of one biomedical engineer? They have to research in the field of new materials which can be implanted in as artificial organs. They can also have a helping hand to develop the new diagnostic instruments for blood analysis. So they can also writing the softwares for analyzing the medical data. So analysis of medical device, hazards of safety and efficacy, development of new diagnostic imaging systems, design of a telemetry system for patient monitoring, design of biomedical sensor, this is most useful, development of expert system for diagnosis and treatment of diseases, design of closed loop control system for drug administration, so that there is a regulated way of delivering this type of drugs, modeling the physiological system of the human body, which can be, after it has been modeled, then we can compute that using some computer or softwares. Then design of instrumentation of sports medicine specifically for sports persons. Development of new dental material. Nowadays it is also, from aesthetic point of also view, it is also useful, or cosmetic type thing. Design of communication aids for individuals with disability. So these are some of the major role the biomedical engineers are playing. There is a basic difference in between biomedical means medical engineer and clinical engineer. As we have discussed, clinical engineer basically focused on those type of useful using or maintaining those medical or clinical setting instruments or equipments. They manage the technology, their maintenance of safety of the devices. They can train the medical staffs for operating those medical devices or equipments. But those medical engineers, they are more focused on R&D field, research and development field. They can design and develop medical devices in industry. Their key responsibility is to prototyping and testing. They can go for regulatory compliances, the product design. So they are more inclined to creation and innovation. And in clinical engineer, they are more inclined to your application part, means how to use that devices and implement, and they also useful for safety. So different types of genetic engineering we can have. It is one field where the medical engineers they can focus, and we can mark in the second picture, it is useful for the clinical engineers. They are actually repairing, they can maintaining the medical equipments. So applications of biomedical engineering are vast. One like your prosthetic arm, prosthetic limb development, like your artificial limbs, denatures limbs. The another application is your surgical devices system. So those surgical devices now you know that it is also some laser technology, they are using some robotic surgery. So these are also coming under this biomedical engineering. Monitoring systems, different devices to monitor your blood glucose level, heart rate, they are also monitoring systems. So these are your biomedical engineering applications. We can have therapeutic devices. Therapeutic devices, for example, we have insulin pump, we can have a kidney dialysis, then electrical nerve stimulation. So these are, and some inhalers, these are coming under your therapeutic examples of therapeutic devices. Another important one is development of your artificial organs like valves, pacemakers. Then most important application which is very useful is imaging methods like ultrasound, X-ray, MRI. Diagnostic systems like lab on a chip, it is also another application. Physical therapy devices like exercise equipments and wearable tech gears, smart watches, whatever they are generating the signals or measuring the different types of physiological activity. Healthcare apps for the smartphones, for smartwatches, for personalized medicine are also useful, and they are also very useful applications of biomedical engineering. Now in recent advancement, we can say transformative technologies like neurotechnology, that is most important. In the future lecture we will also discuss what is about brain computer interfacing. 3D bioprinting, tissue and organ structures. We can develop the lost organs using this 3D bioprinting. AI in medicine, basically protein prediction, protein structure prediction, radiology, diagnostic prediction, everything AI can be used, and that is a means usefulness ML or machine learning here in this field also. Then we can have the precision gene editing using CRISP, advanced prosthetic sensory feedback system. So health digital health wearable monitoring devices. So these are some cutting edge advancement in this field, biomedical engineering field. So healthcare areas, we are actually dealing with diagnostic, therapeutic, prosthetic and surgical tools, rehabilitations and healthcare IT. So these are some areas where there is a requirement of your biomedical engineers. The examples we can mark here, the diagnostic device, one example is your MRI or CT scan. They are the examples. For therapeutic, we have pacemakers, you can say it is an example. Pacemaker is just like, for your information, it is one artificial pacemaker which will generate the signal to activate that heart pumping action. Prosthetic and implants, so artificial joints are the examples. Surgical tools like surgical robot or robotic hands. Similarly, we have some rehabilitation, smart prosthetics, legs, arms, any limbs, then healthcare IT, EHR system, all these are coming under this healthcare areas. Now, covering all these and just merging every field to one, we call it biomedical engineering, and that due to this nature of interdisciplinary of this biomedical engineering, we call that master of integration. You mark, in biomedical engineering we are using the principles of physics, engineering, chemistry, computer science, signal processing and also biology and mathematics. So that is why it is truly known as master of integration. It synthesizes knowledge from multi engineering disciplines. It bridges the engineering principle with biological complexity. It integrates the clinical practice with technological innovations. It balances the technical requirement with regulatory constraints. So now this total, all these devices which has been developed by this biomedical, under this biomedical engineering, can be classified into three different categories. So they are diagnosis or diagnostic devices, as we have discussed previously. Diagnosis or diagnostic devices will help to find out the disorder in a human body. Okay. Then we have therapy. Once that disease has been we indicate or we found any disorder, then we go for therapy, applying different therapies to cure that disease. So those are called therapeutic devices. And in some cases, the third type of medical device, that is your rehabilitation devices or assistive devices. So these assisting orthotic prosthetic devices, they are artificial limbs in us. They will help you to replace a missing body part. So these are basically three different types of medical devices which are very useful and coming under your biomedical engineering. Now this biomedical engineering is crucial for the real world. Why? As we have discussed, it has its imprints, or it has spread all over the different scopes of different disciplines of our study, and it also includes improve the patient care. It requires for improving the patient care, better diagnostic and treatment. It is very life-saving technology because we are requiring critical devices and systems which is useful for the human being. Then also it reduces the cost due to the early diagnosis. It also enhances the quality because restoration of function of disabled patients, and also medical innovations driving technology advancement in healthcare. So these are very useful, and nowadays we can, somebody can think about as a scope this field as taking as its scope as its future profession. So these are our career. You mark here So hot research areas, you can take generative medicine, regenerative medicine, then nano medicine, because we are talking about the medicine should be applicable from the cellular level. So at that place the research area is nanomedicine will very much useful. Then precision medicine means if we have in our body, if we have a particular disorder, then we must treat that particular problem at that site only. It must not affect other organs. So that is why we require precise medicine which will only treat that particular disorder, not affect, or it must not have some side effects. AI driven drug discovery is very much useful and it is a really hot research area. Biosensors and point care DX, they are also useful. Biosensors are must, day by day the people are trying to develop. It is always one useful area of hot research. And future career scope, you can go for industry of R&D. We have hospital clinical engineers. Somebody can pursue academia on research and under this biomedical engineering field. There are many government agencies are there which are providing, encouraging them to go for the startups, entrepreneurship. So it is all about your introduction to biomedical engineering. Thank you.